Welcome everybody to the Q&A. I'm going to bring everybody in. Got a big group. One at a time. Okay. Okay, I think we're missing one person. You guys have everybody?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so now Paul, if Paul can hear us, I don't need to be part of this, so I'm just going to mute myself. And Ryan, you could take it away.
All righty. Well, everybody, I hope everybody enjoyed watching Izzy Lyon, The Unspun Truth. I'm sure you did.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
An amazing comedy film. Thank you for being here, everybody. Why don't we start off and just have everybody who's here go ahead and introduce themselves.
All right.
Bruce, start or Dan? Who wants to
I'll start. I'm Dan Lanigan. I was one of the two directors with Mayron. I was one of the writers with Lana and Mayron and Andy Klimczak. And we had fun making this movie.
Okay. I'm Mayron. I'm the other one of the two directors and also a writer with Lana, Dan, and Andy Klimczak, who unfortunately is not here right now. And yes, what Dan said is right. We had a long journey and had a lot of fun along the way.
I'm Lana Barron. I'm a co-writer, producer, and actress in Izzy. And I also wrote some of the score in the film as well. And happy to be here. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Nice. Then we have Bruce.
I'm Bruce Baum. I played Shecky, Izzy's manager. And as you can see, I didn't shave this morning. A lot of people don't know that this film took 37 years to shoot.
It did. It seems like it, doesn't it, Bruce?
It's actually true.
We had to wait for Izzy to be born.
and we have
Bruce was also a co-producer. He got that title for being so helpful on the film.
That's right.
Now I'm going to blush.
And we have Len Parker coming in and out. She's having a little internet trouble, but hopefully she'll be able to join us here. But guys, let me start out with a movie like this with an opening shot that can rival Lawrence of Arabia, a love scene that would make Christian Grey blush, perhaps.
Oh,
this comedy blends every genre that I can think of, and puts your film into kind of a new territory, even with that mixing. What can I ask? What were some of the influences you guys had in kind of putting this film together, and just your comedy influences? Where did that come from?
There's some obvious ones in that it's documentary style comedy, so Best in Show, things like that. But also movies like Airplane. Any other want to jump in there?
Yeah. I mean, we had it's certainly a mockumentary, so we have Best in Show style work, but there's a lot of craziness in this and intentional, wild comedy and weird stuff. Lots of deep humor.
I felt like I was watching Amazon Women on the Moon at some points.
That was one of our inspirations, actually.
Only because we had them in the green room.
Yeah, well, that was your deal.
Hey,
he's a writer.
You guys took the rider.
Yeah, I know.
I guess that was easier than the black M&Ms.
Oh.
Sorry, Van Halen reference.
I know.
There was also a bit of almost like a little bit of a VH1 behind the music or 30 for 30 documentary style presentation as well.
It was everything. It was so layered with references and genres, and I mean,
Yeah, there was actually a point kind of early on in the writing where we actually watched the VH1 behind the music of MC Hammer, and we actually wrote out the beats of his history. And we were like, how can we sort of now using some of the, because the sort of the rise and fall and sort of he had some, really elaborate fancy things and would take his groupies with him in these, flights with 500 people going to some foreign country just because he could spend the money, and then he kind of lost it all. And we were like, okay, now how can we sort of put this into a sign spinner? And it's preposterous, of course, but we certainly used some of those celebrities' stories as influence.
And then really went off the rails, right?
Yeah.
That was the fun part of this, is to go to extremes in a lot of weird areas. By the way, I forgot to mention this little girl sitting on my lap.
Yes.
My daughter, Annabelle, and she is in the movie early on in the Sign Spinning Hall of Fame. She's the little girl there that talks about Simba.
Izzy's biggest little fan.
That's right.
That's right.
How did you like working on the film there?
It was okay. I liked when I said Simba and the Lion King.
Yeah, we improv that one that day, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was.
It worked. Guys, it did. It felt like we were kind of watching some history that never existed, but maybe should have or could have. Where sign spinning is bigger than the Beatles or Michael Jordan. So like, how did you guys go about creating that whole new world? I mean, what were some of the challenges?
That was a big influence early on for you, wasn't it, Mehran?
Yeah, the big influence for me was definitely somebody like Michael Jordan, but also like the idea of Beatles and the Beatlemania. In fact, we have like sort of, I guess we'd call them montages of concert footage and everything else. And one of the things that we were looking at was old Beatlemania clips. How was that stuff handled? How crazy were people? How large did this stuff get, and how out of control?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Beatles fan, and Alana is as well, and Dan as well.
Yeah. We it was a lot of fun taking this fake history that we created based on these real films and really amping it up to an 11, as they would say in Spinal Tap, which was another inspiration for the film. And we actually shot at one of the Spinal Tap locations. Richie Round's Richie Round's castle is a place called, I believe, Hollywood Castle. Am I right?
Hollywood Castle. That's right.
Yeah, and that's where they shot one of the scenes there. We found out that day and actually added the line there that day just to kind of acknowledge that it was Spinal Tap, as if we were in the world with Spinal Tap, but that's not actually the truth.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of shout outs to comedy past. I think it really
absolutely
does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
a little subtle at times and a little overt at times, but that's the fun of making a movie, especially a crazy movie like that we have. So,
well, I think I think it does a lot of good to kind of honor the past and acknowledge, your inspirations for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, we were trying to hit as many touchstones because, with the three of us, or actually four of us writing, there were a lot of references that we could draw from, things that we liked, things we enjoyed, things that we wanted to just sort of touch on or connect to a history, even like a Mandela effect history.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so you mentioned there were 4 people writing. That's pretty collaborative. Tell me about some of the benefits of working together as a team. The process of working together. What does that bring to the table?
I think with comedy, you have to have a team. I think it's important to bounce jokes off of each other. I think Bruce would probably know that better than anybody else. Bruce has written for a lot of really great stuff. But, you can sit, 1 or 2 people and come up with jokes and whatever, but you don't really know if they're funny. You're by yourself. And I think it helps to have people, you bounce it off of them. You come up with crazy ideas. Sometimes you do take it to 11. Andy, who's not here, he has just wild and crazy ideas. And sometimes he will, say something, insert something. And at first, you're kind of like, what did you just actually say? And then it's like, oh, a bubbling cauldron of smelted ore. Yes, it's perfect. Yes. We'll take it. And, so I think that's one of the reasons why it's really important, I think, to do comedy as a team. You have to be able to work off of people.
Well, it's also a building process that way, because one person says yellow, another person says blue, the next person says purple, and all of a sudden you're at plaid, and that works. So there were 4 people that got there, and that's kind of like throwing the ball around the infield.
And you would know this, Bruce, right? Because you've been in comedy for so many years, and you've worked with so many greats. That's kind of your process is inspired us with this film.
Yeah, the writing rooms are very frenetic, and it's guys interrupting guys. It's funny because when you go out in the real world, you're used to interrupting and bouncing, and how about this?
That's right, Bruce. And I wanted to say no.
But you have to hold back because you have to say, "Yeah, I'm sorry," but when I'm writing, that's kind of like and nobody's offended. It's kind of like you're all rolling in the same ball.
Right. Actually, just last time we're going to mention Andy, who was our other writer. He actually was in the film. He plays Richie Round's butler. So the weird guy in the background giving Richie his pills and such. That's our partner, our writer. And what's funny is our team very much became, even though we were doing a movie, it was very much like an improv group, because not only were we writing, and like the writers and the directors were writing and showing up in the film. I'm in the movie. Mehran's in the movie. Lana's a major part of the film. But Bruce was throwing out lines, and we had other actors that were coming up with stuff. And it was very collaborative across the entire film. And that's what made it fun and funny.
And then we had people on from Whose Line Is It Anyway? So they shined brightly.
And that was because of you, Bruce.
Oh gosh,
We
have some interesting questions coming in.
Let's take a look at that. That's not
Ryan.
There.
Why don't you read them out, Ryan?
I'll give you. Are there any plans to make a sequel or TV series for The Adventures of Izzy Lyon? Which actually, I mean, as I'm watching the movie, I'm like, this is a series. This would be an amazing series.
Is the question being
I love the sound of that. The Adventures of Izzy Lyon. I love that.
Good.
Yeah, we have already discussed a number of different ideas that we'd like to try. Feature as well as series involving different characters and different types of adventures. It just depends on how well this thing does, you know. We think it's a great film, but it's
totally new IP, and if it is.
All of our characters are so rich. I think that a series could be very interesting about these people. I mean, I would watch all of them do anything all day. Yeah. I mean, I find them to be very interesting. So,
I want to know what question was that asked by a studio executive?
Sure.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yes, we would love to do that. Give us a call.
Searching for the Adventures of Izzy Lyon.
There you go.
Here's another good question, which I actually wanted to ask myself. It feels like improv, but I can't imagine that it's improv, with the level of production. So was there a lot of improv?
Yeah, it's kind of a blend. I mean, we had shot some stuff early on that we ended up stopping in the middle of production and then sort of rewriting the entire script. And so what we ended up doing was we basically took a lot of the things that were improvised and the ideas and the characters that were built by Bruce Baum and Lang Parker and the other actors, and we ended up writing a lot of that in, but it was all important to all of us that they still be allowed to live within those scenes and improv outside and inside of lines.
Yeah, I would say that, that early stuff that you guys shot, even though you were shooting the movie, it kind of became a proof of concept, and it helped. It was a very much a development thing. But when we went in and basically we scripted the entire film with those inspirations to help build some of those characters, and some of the characters were brand new and things like that we wrote. But ultimately, we had what we thought was very funny, but then we brought in actors and we're already working with actors we knew that could enhance that. So there's lots of great stuff that we wrote that ultimately was enhanced by our performers like Dave Koechner and Bruce and Phil Lamar. Phil Lamar was like, he was very specific about the script, but then when he would go off script, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. So, I mean, we really were so lucky to have really great, and Lang, oh my God, Lang, who's supposed to be here, but is having technical issues. Lang Parker, her as Mary Ellen, honestly, was why I wanted to be involved in this movie. She was so great, so early. Lana and Mayron and Lang really came up with a great character early on and just made me like, I want to be part of this team.
Well, that's something that really stood out to me was the cast is amazing. You have a ton of familiar faces and all these new faces that, like Lang for one, Richie Round, amazing. I want to see more from these people. How did you go about casting? Where did you find these people?
Well, Jeff Davis, who plays Richie Round, is actually Whose Line Is It Anyway regular. And he's very good friends with Greg Proops, who are also good friends with our very own Bruce Baum right here.
That's right.
And it was sort of referrals through Bruce. He knew Greg, and I've loved Whose Line my entire life. And obviously, when you're doing a movie that you want to rely heavily on improv, getting the Whose Line guys is kind of like the holy grail for improv.
It gives us a pedigree of sorts, right?
Absolutely. Jeff, when we, I've known Jeff's work for a long time, but he is just hilarious, and he does the sort of evil Cockney British thing just so well. And he was so down for like playing this washed up rock star kind of guy. And I think that it's so great to see him and Greg when they're interacting on the screen together, because they have this incredible chemistry. And we have B-roll that you could watch for probably hours of the two of them pretending to get drunk together in a room. And I mean, it's gold. So great.
Yeah.
If I may coin a new word, maybe the film was script prov.
Hey, there you go.
Inscripted. No, but I mean, and then you had, Phil Lamar was somebody that came to us a little later in kind of after we wrote the script, because then there was the first version where Bruce got involved and Lang was involved, but then we came back and rewrote it and reshot everything plus. And I actually was able to get a hold of Phil because of my Fanorama film. So I had met David X. Cohen. He actually came out to my Fanorama set, and I got to know him through that. And I when we were looking for Marcus, we all thought, oh my God, Phil Lamar would be amazing. So I'm like, well, maybe I can see if David Cohen will introduce us. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, I don't know if he wants to do it, but he read the script and thought it was interesting. Mm-hmm. And he was, just such a great person to have supporting our team on screen and even off.
Yeah. An amazing cast. Bruce, speaking of the amazing cast.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, baby man.
Wow.
There's a lost art form here.
It really is. By the way, there's a couple of people asking a question. Exactly how many pounds of bacon did Bruce actually eat?
I was going to bring that up.
How many pounds of what? Bacon?
I don't know if he eating much bacon back then. Look at this guy.
Yeah,
This
Cut.
Yeah, you went into diabetic shock after that day of shooting, did you, Bruce?
I'm almost back in diapers again.
There's a backside.
Pretty good. The baby man.
Did you eat all that bacon, Bruce? That is a good question.
No,
No,
he did
all.
not.
Initially, you ate some of it, but then we had to have
Bruce,
the spit
tell them about
bucket.
the bacon spit bucket
Blech.
Oh, well. I
that
think
was
we can
between
get-
us that I had to keep looking at.
Yeah, there was probably a good bucket to feed maybe a couple goats and a pig.
Oh God!
A round of bacon for the table. I mean,
I've
that's
already been chewed.
not a guy.
Right.
It was like the pre-cooked. It was actual bacon, and it was the pre-cooked that you can get, like from Costco. And, I mean, he really did shove a lot of that into his mouth and spit it all out.
Yeah, like, here you go.
So much spit out bacon, man.
I like to throw out, just so we make sure we don't miss him, John Copeland, who played
Oh,
Phil.
yeah.
Was somebody that you, Lana, and Mayron had cast before I got involved with it, because you guys worked with him on your previous film.
We did.
Short film.
We wrote the role actually for him initially. Like that's the guy that we were thinking the whole time.
And I'll tell you, we were able to really lean into when we wound up scripting the entire film and really adding some great comedic moments for him. And he is just so funny. And he doesn't think of himself as a comedic actor, but he is so talented. He's the kind of guy I think he could do anything. You just got to give him a chance. And he was just wonderful to work with, super easygoing, and always delivered every take. So,
in the film we did before, he was a very serious villain type doctor, like just serious, slick back hair, the whole thing. And it's just a complete sea change for this movie.
I feel that it's important to add that the quilt with the cowboys on it, he actually made in real life.
Not for the movie.
Not for the film.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't for the film. I went to his house because he's a friend of mine, and we were hanging out, and I was like, wow, that quilt is so amazing, and we need to give it to your character. And he was like, I would love that, because he's selling quilts, and he's a really talented quilter. And I was like, I loved it. I love these buxom cowboys with their shirts off. And I said, your character has to have this while he's sitting next to his mother knitting. I mean, it's just so perfect. And so
who was my mother-in-law in real life? That was my
that's
mother.
right.
Okay.
Playing Phil's mom.
She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, she worked out. She did a great job. And hi, Jan. I think she's watching now. We just dropped it on her in short amount of time, and she just said, "Okay, I'll do it." And she was great.
Sometimes people who aren't actors can do amazing acting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all about the environment that you're in. We're a small production. That particular scene, Phil's house was shot in my dining room, in the previous house we had. So if you have a small team and you're just interacting with somebody, you just get them feel comfortable, and they're not going to be the Godfather, but I think they can be great. They just need to feel confident.
Right.
Here's a question.
I can act, anyone can act. Right. No, I'm not saying I'm not an actor. I'm not at the level of Lana. Lana is fantastic. I'm not saying but for like small things. I don't want to downplay a good actor's skills because it is important. But for little bit parts, I think anybody can do it with the right.
And a hell of a fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you beat the crowd. You were pushing me around more than I was pushing you around, Bruce.
I don't think so. You're so big, I didn't know if I was still fighting the same guy.
Here's a question. Was the idea always to use a sign spinner, or were there any other silly jobs you considered?
No, well, actually, that goes that goes way back. When I originally came up with the idea for the character, I had just seen a guy spinning a sign, and he was so into what he was doing, and I just kind of almost thought this was the worst job in the world. And this guy was just absolutely loving every second of his life. He had an audio cassette player on his wrist, and it was taped to his wrist, and he had this trucker's hat on, and I had never been as happy as this guy. And I just couldn't stop thinking about what to deal with him. And then Izzy Lyon came out of that.
Well, now, Larry Fuller, who plays Izzy Lyons, is he an actual sign spinner? I mean, or are we watching CGI? What are we seeing there? Because this is an amazing talent that he has.
Yeah. Well, we actually we knew that if we wanted to do a film about a very serious, talented sign spinner, we probably needed to get a real sign spinner in the film. And so we did some research, and we discovered Arrow sign spinners, and they're a franchise. They're all over the United States, and they're basically very top-notch, high-quality sign spinners that you can sort of rent for your business, and they're really, really good. And every year they have this big convention in Las Vegas, and they compete, and they are phenomenal. And I happened to be in Las Vegas while they were there, just started writing the film, and I was like, I need to talk to these people. I need to learn everything about these people and get to know them, and was referred by one of the guys, he's their sort of CEO, was referred Larry Fuller. And he said, he's your guy. If you want somebody who is kind of like an amazing, mind-blowing sign spinner, this is the guy you should talk to. And so we got in contact with Larry, and we saw him spin, and we were very impressed. And we were like, do you want to act in a movie? And he was like, yeah, sure, and he's a sign spinner, he's a sign spinner first and an actor now second.
He actually is like a trainer for sign spinners. Like he's at a different level.
He's a teacher.
He's a really good sign spinner. He's at the time he was considered one of the best.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, I mean, who knows? I have been keeping up with the sign spinning hierarchy,
Sure.
but Larry was great at the time. And what's interesting is his character, as we got to work with him, was very similar to who he was. I mean, he doesn't have a high top fade, but he's very thoughtful and interesting guy, and he's this amazing ability to do all these crazy stuff. Now, there was special effects we used, visual effects for the sign spinning with Larry, but it had nothing to do with him spinning the sign. It was all about like him taking off and floating and
to fly.
Like
yeah,
that was
exactly.
it.
What now with that's reminding me of the helicopter scene. There are so many amazing scenes in this movie. It's a question from the audience here. What was your favorite vignette in the film? What was your favorite scene to shoot? Or watch even? Actually, probably not shoot. Maybe watch.
It is the spectacular sequence. Like I love watching that. It's really exciting and fun.
Yeah, with the music, it's really, really impressive and fun. I don't know. I would say shooting the telethon was a lot of fun for me.
I agree.
That was neat, and we did that in a fairly short amount of time. We had a lot of people coming through, and that was a good time. And I think that turned out really well. But I mean, there's so many great little moments.
There really
Lana,
are.
what from your perspective? What?
Gosh, I feel like those all those little vignettes, the unsolved mystery stuff, the telethon, the lifestyles of the rich and famous, all those sort of spoofs that we did. I really enjoyed. But I think that the Richie's Castle, that whole sequence, I mean, that was a crazy couple nights of shooting, no sleep, just working through the night.
Insane.
Yeah, it was insane. And we had this huge castle to work with, and I don't know, it was just so much fun and just a wild experience. We had, dry ice in the moat, and it was all foggy and bubbly, and it felt like Goonies. Like I felt like I was on a really fun, amazing, fantasy set, and that I think for me was my favorite.
And it was great because Bruce the entire time was wearing a dress.
He was.
A very sassy dress.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It was.
One of my favorite scenes didn't make the movie. It was in the segments that we shot that before we reshot some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was a scene in that restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
There were a couple of actors from the film that were going to come walking by while I was angry, and I was supposed to yell at them.
Right.
Two real people.
And you did.
But it was two real people. The actors hadn't taken their positions yet. And he yelled action. And I'm out front, angry, really mad. And these two people come walking down, and I start screaming at them and throwing stuff. And the look on their face, I'm going, wow, these guys are good. They're not just. I chased them down the block. I ran after them.
Yeah.
They ran, got in the car, and just took off. I couldn't even. Then I came back, and they told me those weren't our actors.
And to this day, Bob and Joe, who you chased, are still in therapy, Bruce.
Yeah.
I think I was chased by Bruce Baum down the street.
I think we did end up. We didn't ever get non-disclosure.
No, we tried to get them, but they jumped in their car and they took off.
Right.
We'll blur them and put them in a behind the scenes. Featurette. Yeah,
For the theory.
Put a beard on them.
Well, guys, I think we're going to have to wrap it up here shortly. Let me ask you a quick question. I have my ideas where Izzy is. Where do you think Izzy's? Where is he?
I mean, that's the question. Where is he?
Well,
I'm picturing him, man.
I'm picturing him at a fair spinning devil sticks and kicking a hacky sack.
I think he's learning how to spin a sitar with Maharishi Yogesh.
That is a good possibility.
That's a good possibility. I think there are definitely a couple of clues in the movie.
Yeah.
Here and there. that you could look at.
Yeah.
Look really, really close, as Mary Ellen would say.
That's right.
You'll find it.
Very, very close.
Yeah.
And that was a lark. They were casting the film, and I had just come back from performing with Lang for the first time in years up in Oregon, when Lana called and said, "Do you know anybody that's got like a Midwestern accent that can play?" And I went, "Wow!" I said, I just played. I said, "I don't know if she's right, but call Lang Parker." And I think you said she got it on the phone.
Oh my God!
I mean, when she said hi, she was already auditioning.
Yeah.
So I heard the voice and I was like, the words on the page leapt. You know what I mean? And it was like music to my ears, and I just knew. And even though, like I said, the other day we were talking about it, was like she's a beautiful, beautiful woman, and she's very fit. And I always saw Mary Ellen to be, frumpy and maybe even older and larger perhaps. But we knew that she was so perfect. And we said, I think that if we just put her in these ridiculous glasses and this ridiculous hair and put her in ridiculous clothes, she will be a different woman. And she was. I mean, it's unreal, the transformation, from who she actually is to this character, who she does so well.
But you helped create that character too, Lana. I mean, you did the wardrobe, majority of the wardrobe on the film.
Yeah.
On top of just general producing and being a character in the film and doing the music in post. But you helped, I think, Lang come alive with the look.
Yeah. I think when I
craft services.
I mean, when Lana and I originally we were talking about, Lana was doing the voices. Like originally she was like filling in for some of those voices of the Mary Ellen character specifically.
Oh yeah. Because sometimes I like to think of myself as someone from the Midwest, but
you're not Midwestern.
No.
Definitely not.
That's
But that
northern
wasn't a
Midwestern.
bad Wisconsin accent.
Minnesota.
I'm sad that Lang. She was popping in and out earlier, but
I know.
We love you, Lang. Thanks.
Love you, Lang.
He's fantastic.
I want to thank all you guys for being here and having this chat here.
I want to thank you, Ryan, for bringing that not only bringing yourself to this, but bringing that album.
Yeah.
Yes!
Hold on to stuff. You never know when it might come in handy.
That's got Marty Feldman eyes on it, which is a song. Betty Davis eyes. And
That's a good one.
When she called it in People magazine and Rolling Stone, she called that song subpar trash.
Ooh,
and when they
that's
copied
good.
it for a comment, I just said, her standards are higher than mine. I just consider it trash.
Yeah, I would take that as a wonderful compliment.
I would take it. I'd put that on the board.
The movie was well above that, and thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're getting booed.
Thanks everybody for listening.
No, you're not getting booted at all. I had to come on and say thank you so much, Dan. It's been such a pleasure working with you and Jason, and nice meeting all of you. What a treat for this festival. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank
John.
you.
My pleasure. Your pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best.
We appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to keeping in touch and keep spreading the word about Izzy.
Absolutely.
You got to keep us posted so we can make sure the whole world sees it when it comes out.
Yes.
Very good.
Terrific. All right. Hope you guys join us for some other events. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off now. You guys want to keep talking, you can. But it was an amazing show and a terrific Q&A. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Happy everything.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Well, thank you.